Howdy, howdy, folks. Welcome to Babble with Bronies. I am your host. My name is Everlasting Joy. And of course, I'm joined by my good friends Twilightus Magic and Mr. Ben. They'll be joining us shortly. But right now, I need to get one little thing out of the way first. Dot. Dot. And I know I forgot something, but it'll... Anyway.
Whoa, there we go.
Hello.
I am here.
Hey, Tux. Long time no see.
I know, right? It's been, 3 weeks or something like that?
Something like that, anyway.
Yep. Oh, hang on 1 second. Let me go grab some. 1 second. Give me 2 seconds. Hang on.
All right.
Okay. I'm back. I just had to do one thing. I had a cat that was on my bed. I was just trying to walk along my computer. Okay.
Meow.
All right, so.
Let's start off with DBZ Fleetfoot. So,
yes.
You want to challenge me?
This picture was definitely one of my more interesting pictures that I've had to do with the DBZ ponies.
Why?
I'll put it this way. What made this one a very it's tricky only because I couldn't figure how I want to do her uniform, because I've done a uniform here and there, and on other, characters I've done uniforms before, like, and how they do it like that. The problem is I haven't made a uniform picture and since Daring Do. So what I was doing on this one that was making it really annoying was it started out normal, and then I actually...
Okay, we're already gonna get connection problems.
I thought the stream died or something like that.
Nope.
All right.
Carry on. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So basically, the picture, I had to redo it, the uniform, about 2 times before I wanted to get it just exactly right, because I had to make it so it was stretchy, but I basically knocked off the entire uniform. But the overall picture was definitely interesting because I did beef her up a little bit more than more of my other ponies, because she is an athlete, so I did give her more muscle and stuff like that on her. But the thing that made this picture really, really nice was the way I did the background. And granted, it's a rocky background and yada, 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 but it's like at the same time what I really like about this one is just how vividly and bright I made this thing. Because in a sense, Fleetfoot really pops out on this background.
That's not a bad thing.
No, and I really want that. Although someone did say I would totally buy this if you ever did have this at a convention. And I'm like, I'm going to probably pass on that. Because first of all, no one likes Fleetfoot. I can tell you that right now. No one likes Fleetfoot. I like Fleetfoot, but I can tell you the majority of the family does not like Fleetfoot.
Well, it's at least worth exploring. Print off a print or two and see if it goes.
Maybe. I would give it a go when I do it in February. Well, I'll see what the hell happens. But I mean, overall, this is definitely one of my more interesting DBZ ones, because it's just because I was basically working with a more muscled up pony, and I was also working with just the hair. And that hair, I told someone when I was working on this, her hair literally looks like an ice cream cone. It does look like an ice cream cone.
Now that you mentioned it.
But no, this was this is a good picture. I really liked how this one turned out. This is definitely one of my more favorite DBZ ponies I've done recently.
Well, good deal. Shall we move on then?
Alrighty then.
That's So You Want to Challenge Me. And
yes.
The next one is An Apple a Day.
Yes, the comic. Alright, this comic.
This one
is
freaking cute, man.
Yep, you can do the voice if you want.
Alright.
I'll do the much.
Read it first?
Yeah, actually, you know what? You can do the Applejack and I'll do the panel 2.
Okay. Of course, here it is for you.
Yes. Oh, I got it. I already got it.
Okay. What was it I was going to say? Of course, it would make... Oh, I know. It would make more sense if I did read it. Oh, and one other thing. I'll tell it to you a little later. But anyway.
Yes.
Okay. Now to get one last thing.
Munch.
Those eyes. They're so cute.
I know.
Hey, it's alright, Sugar Cube. I didn't want them anyway.
It's freaking adorable.
I know! We'll leave it to AJ to be that pony. That's
See,
why we love her so much.
and actually, what's really funny is like I just finished up. So basically, here's what happened. That actually turned out to be the second AJ comic that I did in a row. Recently, I did, and I did another one, which you got your show. I already put it out, but you'll show it off next week. But it's like
Yep.
this makes it 3 comics in the sense that I've done either an Applejack theme or some type of Applejack in there. Um, but honestly, what made this one, I've only done baby ponies. Let's see, when's the last time? I'm trying to think when the last time I drew a baby pony. That was the last time I drew it was when I did Pound and Pumpkin Cake way back in 2012, and that was, I believe, right after the episode aired. So you're talking about almost 2.5 years since I last did even a smidgen of a baby pony.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna lie, they're actually easy. I thought they
Really?
were really, really hard. They actually are very easy because their heads are perfect circles, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't catch that until I started reviewing how to draw them, just so I can get a refresher. And it's like their heads are perfectly round. The only thing you have to be very careful of is miniaturizing every single feature on the rest of their bodies.
Right. That makes
And I
sense.
actually put on Twitter. Actually, what's amazing is that apple bloom that has the just a single panel of her is the second to last one. I actually have on Twitter that sketch is smaller than a dime. It is literally a smaller than a dime picture. That's how small that sketch initially was
Good
before I had to
lord.
blow it up. Well, it wasn't hard. I had to blow up the image, and once I get the image to 80% that I want on sketch wise, I can do the rest in Photoshop. But this was definitely an interesting comic because I mean I'm doing multiple Apple Farm backgrounds in a row, so it's like trying to keep them all different backgrounds and making them all new was a really big annoyance.
Sure, I bet.
Um, but the one thing that made it very interesting, I think, on this whole thing was first of all I forgot her freckles. That's
No.
the second
Uh,
stupid comic I forgot because I released it and I didn't catch it until a day later that I forgot her freckles in the comic. Um, and the other thing is when I finished the comic about 2 days before I released it, I realized it needed extra like stuff on Apple Bloom's face to give it more of an impression that she did actually eat the apple. So that was a last second touch. Overall, this comic I really liked how this thing came out. The only thing that was bothering me just a little bit is AJ's face in the last panel. I've made it a little bit too sideways,
uh-huh.
but other than that, this came out really really nice.
I can't argue with that one. I think it's
No,
adorable.
it's good. And actually, the funny thing is, I didn't even plan for Zapple apples. That was actually that was a last second. Like I'm talking a very. I'm trying. It was basically the last hour of my stream. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make Zap apples because I had to add the apples in, but I didn't know which ones I wanted. So I'm like, you know what? Zap apples would be a lot more special instead of just
Yeah,
having a normal apple.
that
But
makes sense.
but the one favorite thing is I get some criticism because of ice. For example, is I do too many bushes in my backgrounds considering it's an apple farm. The way that I would counteract that is I've seen orchards that have a lot of crap in it, but the thing is, if I don't add that stuff in there, if you look at the backgrounds in the show, what they
Uh-huh.
do is it's very plain, but because they're very plain, they're animating it. So those scenes would be
Right.
like boom, 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 boom. You don't, and they stick stuff in what they want. Um, so unless it's going to be a long, drawn out scene, they won't put a lot of detail in there. For my backgrounds, I will put bushes, trees, wherever you want in there. I like to add depth because if it's a single picture or a panel, I want to create as much depth as possible in these panels. As I just feel like if I did it along the show like I used to do it, like I'm talking about like 2012, my backgrounds are good, but they're kind of flat. I love my backgrounds now with adding a lot more stuff in them.
I think you've been taking Bob Ross lessons.
I've been taking Bob Ross lessons. I'm not going to complain. It's actually I'm not going to complain at all because actually I like that. I like it having a lot of detail in my stuff. But
um,
no, this is definitely this is the first I like this comic. It's a very cute comic that I made.
mhm. Speaking of ice, where is he? He should be here.
He is. I don't know. I'm waiting to. Actually, I don't see what's his face in here. There I don't see Verse or other people. Man, this is just, I'm not gonna lie. This has been a very quiet Sunday. This
It
Sunday, everybody's like been very quiet.
I think it's because Christmas is right around the corner.
That, and I
Everyone's
know everybody got off break because of schools.
well, they now have time to do stuff that they want to do, so they do it. Or of course, family affairs or other things, other obligations and things like that.
That actually is true. I didn't think about that. But yeah, no, that's basically what I got as far as this comic. And then let's see, I know you already got two next week, and then what I'm working on right now is a comic.
Actually,
And
I don't
that,
think I'll be doing anything content-wise next week. Sorry,
okay.
man. It's
Oh,
because we're redoing the season 2 finale,
oh yeah, that's right.
and I'll say it right now for everyone's sake. Due to the fact that we basically went over and then some, that's why I'm cutting out the entire first hour next week.
Oh,
So we're gonna watch the episode again, and then we're gonna spend the rest of it just discussing. Because
oh,
of the huge amount of content, we're just gonna go straight on with it.
and then. So it actually seems like you won't be fully caught up on all the art now until the 11th of January. You poor
Sixth.
soul.
Or
Oh,
no, you're right.
4th. Yeah, 11th. Because I was going to say, well, for my stuff, it would be caught up by the 11th. But it's more like for other stuff, you had to catch up during the week, though.
Yeah, we'll get there though.
Okay, you'll get there. And then I got, like, hell, I got to do Trixie after I already put the thing that next week there to show. But I got, actually, no. Oh man, this is so screwy. The whole week's gonna be off and off. It's like for your show, it's almost like it's a week behind, but it's like more so my stuff's already almost like a week and a half ahead.
Well, that's exactly it. But anyway, we really should move on.
Yep, you guys can move on. I'm gonna go. I gotta go do some stuff.
All right. Take care,
Yep.
Tox.
Yep. I'll see you guys in I guess 2 weeks now.
Bye.
Yep. Later, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, Toxic Mario. All right. Now, for the other guys. Yellow.
Yo! Yo, that's right.
I think you've been hanging on our streams too much, Tim. Not that that's a bad thing.
That's
I'm
right.
just saying.
Ooh, and I forgot I need to disable my pings.
No, I'm not
Okay.
going there. All right, now for the record, everyone, what was it I was going to say? Oh yeah, I do a lot of the stuff from last week that didn't get recorded. In fact, all of it is on here. There is some new stuff. There are some videos and some other new stuff, but yes, a lot of this is from last week. So if you missed it, today's your lucky day. Anyway, you guys, both of you ready?
Yep.
Ready as I'll ever be.
Now, one of the reasons before the rest of the audience starts jumping on me, one of the reasons I brought Tim and Ben back on for this episode was because it fell under two reasons. One, it was a continuation of, since we were quite literally taking from the season 2 finale and then going to this, I figured it made sense to bring them back on. And two, since the Chrysalis episode as well talks about season 2, I figured bring them back on. So that's why they are back this week, and yes, they will be back next week.
And before you ask, no amount of coercion actually had anything to do with this.
Oh, I don't know. I think my old poking stick says otherwise. Anyway, let's get started. You guys hear this one about the MLP skins for Nintendo consoles?
No, I actually haven't heard of anything about that.
Check it out. Cramazon is hosting a huge there's a huge sale, and not even a sale, but just the items are available. If you want to customize your consoles, your Nintendo consoles with pony skins, you have that ability.
Oh, Okay, yeah, I've seen pictures of that, but I thought that was just someone actually just um what's the term, photoshopping that. And I actually saw the decal for the 3DS XL, but I didn't think that was a real thing.
No, it's real as real as possible.
And of course, I'm looking down this list, and all of it's like currently unavailable.
Yeah, don't you just love that?
Made me so mad.
Well, put it on your wish list, I'd say.
Oh well.
Anyway, for the audience, you know, I could just. Well, no, I'm just thinking, putting this on your console. That's all. Anyway, I decided to. Never mind. Point is Netflix now has Rainbow Rocks on it. So if you have a NetSticks account and you haven't seen Rainbow Rocks, what are you waiting for, Tox? Here's the news. Did I send it?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Sammy, you there?
Yep.
Okay. And lastly, in news, this one I wanted to share because it's one of those, it's so terrible, it's good. So bad it's good scenarios. You guys
Oh, I
probably
know
know what I'm
you're
referring
talking
to. Yep.
about. This is gonna be great.
You guys everyone probably saw this. The greatest Equestria Girls knockoff ever. I'm surprised that I'm honestly God surprised that the EQD article here didn't spell it EVAR. That would have been funny. Anyway, yeah, I really don't think I need to say much about this, but one thing I will say about this, when I first saw this, all I could think of was, oh Lord, those eyes. They've acted super Desu Kawaii mode.
They also brought back early generation Rainbow Dash.
Apparently,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was gonna say something like that because you could tell just looking at the picture. And it's like they took Rarity's basic design and just gave her Rainbow Dash's coloration. It's like, oh my god, they humanized Rainbow G3 Rainbow Dash. I can just hear her going, "Darling," already.
So, darlings.
All I could say to this though is that there is no shame here, folks. Look at these designs. They aren't even. They're not even trying to hide it. Look at them. They've got rarities. Look at this, not rarity. She has the cutie mark, yet she has, of course, rainbow and the basic design, but Rainbow Dash's hair. You can look at
Yep.
all of them, and they all have their respective real counterparts, cutie mark, but someone else's either personality or cutie mark. It's hilarious, if you ask me.
Basically, it's magical mystery cure.
Except
All over again,
lame.
yes.
Magical mystery cure humanized.
And apparently, only Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash got out of it fine, or maybe not. I don't know.
All I can think of is imagine being the girl who asked for something and who's unfortunate. How do I don't want to? I'm trying to word this nicely. Whose parents probably see this somewhere in I don't know where they. It doesn't say where it's spotted, but anyway, imagine
It's like
getting this for Christmas is what I'm trying to say.
I was about to say, imagine asking your parents for a PlayStation and they get you one of those cheap knockoff pop stations instead.
That's exactly it. This is why it's important to be very descriptive, kids. I'll let the audience look at this and, well, decide for yourselves, but that's why I wanted to share this one was for the hilarity factor. And you can cut the puns.
Yeah.
All right, just one other piece of news that I know is going to. Well, there's one piece of news left. the Equestria Girls Holiday Special has been released. If you want to pick it up, it's of course all over the place. Comixology or iTunes. Pick it up. Check it out. Judge it for yourself from there.
I heard that one wasn't supposed to be that great, but that's just from what I've been hearing in regards to the reviews on that. But
That's what I've been hearing too, but I haven't had a chance.
That's
to
what I've been
review
hearing free.
Huh?
That's what I've been hearing free.
We'll see how the
But
I'm losing my mind here.
that's
can't
what
lose
Bonnie's
what you
did to
never
you.
had.
What?
Nothing.
Airbend in time.
All right. So, guys, let's go with the audiences this time, since I'll ask for you guys next time. Audience, art or music first? All right, one music, one art. Doing the either or does not help, folks. All right, I'll call it here. We're going with the art. Let's see. Got quite a few amount of comics. But why don't we start with... How about this one? This one was sent in with a Tim recommendation. Nightmare
Oh,
Rarity
nice.
by Tiger Type. Check this out.
Let's see what we got with this. And of course, it doesn't want to load on my end.
Then why don't I start with the
Oh,
commenting?
there we are. Here we go. Wow, that's actually really well done.
What I love about this one is saying everything in as few words as possible. Anyone who's read the Nightmare Rarity arc in the comics can probably attest to this. And that's one of the big reasons why I wanted to grab this one. If you read the comics, you get the full story. If you haven't read them, it doesn't matter. You can get everything that you want from this picture, and that's one of the reasons why I like it so much. The
Indeed.
emotion. Go ahead, Tim.
Indeed. And well, that's pretty much it. And also this alternative design for her headpiece is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. It's basically a bird, but what a bird it is.
Probably a
It's-
vulture or something wicked like that.
looks more like a kind of swift or something. Don't know. But what impresses me the most is the texture of the face and the proportions, the features, and overall how real it feels, how realistic it feels. It doesn't feel exaggerated.
Exactly. That's a good way of putting it.
It's following the same laws as face drawing everywhere. This center of attention on the eyes, this so on, but it's not exaggerated, and this makes it gorgeous, I'd say.
I would agree with that. All right. Let's move on. Do we want to do a comic, guys?
Sure.
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. How about... How about we do this one? How about we do Beavernator's comics? 8, 9, and 10, End of a Generation.
Okay.
We have
Okay.
Twilight and Sunset Shimmer. And... Yep, just them in this one. Who wants who?
I'll take Sunset again.
All right. Ben?
I'll sit this one out.
Okay. Twilight starts then. Let me think. Character. She's still breathing, but it's very weak. Sunset, we need to get her to a hospital straight away.
We found Luna here outside your library door with Celestia nowhere to be seen.
Besides being less energetic than usual, she wasn't sick.
Then what was she doing out here?
Sunset, we need to go. Now!
Twilight? Forget Luna, get out of here, it's...
This conversation is over, Sunset.
Boom. Twilight!
Part 8. Part 9. Let's see, this one is a dialogue between Celestia and Sunset.
I'll take Princess Sunbud as usual.
I'm assuming you'll take Sunset, Tim?
Well, I don't see any lines for Sunset, but
I guess,
yes.
yeah, it's just a monologue.
Hmm.
Anyway, Ben?
All right. This is it, Equestria. This is your champion. You think hiding behind a shield will stop me? How did that work out for you back in Canterlot? I never get tired of doing that demon voice.
I don't think you do either.
At least the great thing is that unlike last week, my throat feels perfect this time.
Good.
So,
Yay!
Now it's a Sunset Shimmer monologue.
Indeed.
Part 10.
Part 10.
The chat. All right. Tim?
Indeed. I'll answer your questions with my own. Did the shield and counterload do this?
Wow.
Reflect.
and Celestia's like, oh, fudge.
A cruel irony, isn't it? You murdered and mimicked the only pony who would have spared you your life.
Do 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 do. Tune in next time, folks, when we finish this wonderful story up. End of a Generation, parts 8, 9, and 10 by Beavernator. All right, how about this one by Uotapo, titled Hearthwarming Eve. Since we're on the crux, or the precipice, that's the word I was looking for. Since we're on the precipice of Christmas here in our world, I thought I'd be trying to get as many Christmas themes as I could get in this episode. This one caught my eye right away. I thought Why should I not put this one in here? And I found no answer to that. Okay, I did give it to you guys. Good.
It's a very cute image, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
So-
as usual with Otapa, he makes Equestria Girls just work.
He does.
I think it's because he adds his own little flair to it. He
Yep.
stays as close as possible to the show's designs, yet I think it's that. Plus, I think it's because it's, oddly enough, he stays within the boundaries of the show. As in, I would expect something like this. I would expect something like that kazoo picture you see in the side. I would expect a lot of the stuff that he's given us to happen. They may not, of course, happen on scene, but they'll happen. They're within the realm of possibility. It's kind of like what DM29 does and a lot of other artists do. Not just with EQG, but anything. It's within the realm of possibility.
It's where you can say it's not alternate universe.
Yeah, exactly.
Art-wise, I'd say his pictures work because he's altered the faces somehow to, well, you know how Equestria Girl faces are a bit longer than they're wide. Here is the reverse. But it still works. It kind of makes them cuter, as the usual law of proportions.
I think it's because one thing that he added or does that hit. One thing he does is stays within proportions
He does.
to real humans.
Yes, and that makes them work kind of better, I'd
Mhm.
say.
I would say that too.
Yeah, it seems it's kind of. I mean, aside, the skin differences aside, it doesn't look unrealistic, really. In a way, it doesn't look like Uncanny Valley, if you will.
Mm-mm.
Yep.
So
All I can think of is some 5-year-old's drawing now. Like, we're talking terrible 5-year-old drawing.
oh no.
Anyway, shall we move on, guys?
Sure.
Indeed.
Okay, how about we go with... I'm just trying to get an idea of how many comics we have. Okay, let's go with this one by BwB, Applejack in a Bamboo Forest.
Oh, this one.
Mm-hmm. You guys have anything to open up with?
I'm just pulling it up myself.
Okay.
Kind of funny how
Hot damn them legs. Ooh, wow. Um,
from top left, bottom right, somehow Applejack seems to transform from G4 pony to horse. Kind of gradual gradient transformation. The topmost left is the most sentient pony, the most G4 pony of her body, and then it just goes horsier from here.
Okay.
Interesting.
I love the light filtering through the bamboo stalks. I love how that's a nice touch on that.
What I like the most that hasn't been said yet is this looks like it's, you go to those either Chinese or Japanese restaurant and you see some of the pictures on the wall from there,
Yep.
like the paintings. That's what this background especially looks a lot like to me. But AJ
Definitely.
looks almost like she doesn't belong in the painting itself, but it
You-
works.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, she looks kind of out of place, but at the same time, she looks like, it's how she looks out of place, but she doesn't. It's weird.
Applejack, the picture invader. Well, the background style, let's say, it looks out of place because how different the line art style is.
Yeah.
Because the coloring is similar, it's how she looks like she belongs. The coloring seems to be true,
I think that helps.
the line work of the bamboo, they are indeed quite similar to those pictures you see in restaurants and stuff. But her line work is more traditional Verastapur style, which is kind of softer. Well, you just see it here,
Mm?
and that's why it seems different. I'd say. Also, there is very little shadow below her. Well, it makes sense, but at least I would expect her to cast some sort of shadow with this kind of light.
True.
So it does look like she has no shadow, so it makes her look like less like she belongs there.
Maybe that was
Also,
his
look,
intent.
maybe, could be. Look around Applejack, he kind of, to focus our eyes more, he kind of scribbled around in this. See those? The scribbles.
I see him.
It's an interesting style. He also used hatching to shade her, I see. And I'd say what I like here the most is the hat and the hair. Because, well, step aside rarity.
That's them's fighting words there.
Perhaps. But Applejack deserves it.
Yes, I'm not denying that.
I do notice. Don't mean to break off or divert attention on this. I do happen to notice that you mentioned how it seemed very, what was it, Far East in a way. You said it's just I happen to notice. How do you pronounce that artist's name again?
View Rastifer.
View Rastifer, yeah. View Rastifer seems to. There's also something off on the side that I just couldn't help but click on and take a look at. Apparently, they're looking into doing a thing with Twilight, Samurai Twilight. Apparently, a webcomic series about that. That looks like that'd be interesting to take a look into for the future. Keep an eye on that. So, but as getting back into the actual picture itself, yeah, I have to agree. The legs just look kind of alien to me in this. That's probably the only thing I don't like about it. It's just the joints look off. The legs look a little too thin, too unable. They just don't look like they should support her, and it looks kind of odd. That's all.
Applejack is best grasshopper.
So,
All right, why don't we move on, guys?
yeah.
All right. How about... I have two of them by HowXU. I figured since I was going to show number 5. How do I put this? This one is titled Weekly Art number 4, The Dazzlings. This one was one from last week. And,
I think I remember this one.
Yep.
I thought I might as well show both of them. I thought they're both cute.
I'll let you say your piece. I talked a lot last time.
Yeah, this was, both of these.
I've already said a lot about his styling and how much I like it, so I'm not going to repeat myself too much. But, damn it all, you made Sonata even cuter. How did you do that?
So not an uncute picture.
It's the eyes, those happy anime eyes. Also, is Arya looking up the TV listings, or is she making a call for something? What is she?
That's a good question. I don't know. I can't tell if that's a phone or a. It looks like a phone to me, but at the same time, it looks kind of like you said, a TV remote.
Who knows?
She's looking at the Adagio Dazzle structure manual.
Yeah. Blowing the picture up to the maximum resolution, I think it's a TV remote, but I can't say it for sure. So
She's just controlling the Adagio here.
That's what I'm gonna think of it now. It's the Adagio action figure or something. All right, let's go. Here is The Dazzlings by HowXU. Again, I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Here's number 5, Merry Christmas. Let me give it to you guys.
Flutterception.
Matt, free taco accessory with a Sonata Dusk action figure.
We still need to flood the Jipper though.
Can we do that?
We must.
Do I really need to say that much about this one? I'm sure most of you are already dropping off from heart attacks.
I also missed something about how Exhaust's style last time.
Mhm.
It's just impeccably smooth.
Yes.
The lines, the shapes, the colors, all of them. All of it is smooth somehow.
I think it's just that styling, that anime
Yes.
styling. That some of them.
And
Like-
yet not quite anime,
How so?
because anime is normally a lot rougher. At least around these lines. And here it's just perfectly smooth.
True. Good point.
He
Don't let
also
the
made
door
just to
go in one
do-
picture.
True.
This stuff doesn't really look out of place, like out of a four coma or anything of that sort.
No.
It's
Of
more,
course.
it's more manga-esque than anime to me, but that's
Yeah.
just me.
That's probably it.
So,
Also, he does both his human faces and his pony faces in one picture.
It's definitely one of the first. Is it one of the first times he's done that?
Probably
think
one of
so.
the few times.
And let's be honest here, folks. How many of you would wake up on Christmas Day and wish for this?
I'd be kind of concerned how I'd be a little concerned how Fluttershy in the box was able to breathe without any air holes, but that's just me.
Good point.
It's just a portal there.
Huh.
Portal's equestria. That's
That
a better
sounds like
present,
the-
isn't it?
Yeah, that would be a great one. That kind of leads me to a question. I can only imagine just how the actual human counterparts would react upon seeing their pony counterparts. I can imagine the two Fluttershies would just nuzzle and just hug each other for quite some time, but I don't know about anyone else really.
Well, we all know what happens if Pinkie Pie did.
Division by zero, universe implosion.
Exactly.
And Twilight will study it all.
Only to
Observe.
be consumed, only to be
Monitor
consumed
everything.
by the incoming implosion.
They'll monitor to the very end.
All right. Let's move on. How about we get to a comic? Twilight's First Day, number 21 by Muffinshire.
I loved that one. We haven't seen Muffinshire on here for so long. We need to rectify that.
He's been busier than a bee. He got back
Oh.
to me with that.
He's as busy as a sea.
I see what you did there.
Busier than a bee.
Okay, sorry, I just typed that up. All right, we have Twilight. I can't remember her name. Miss Flyleaf and Incidentals. That's right. So who wants who?
I know. I know the
Flyleaf
last.
this time. I'll take Flyleaf this time.
Okay.
I'll take Twilight again, I suppose.
Was that you who did Twilight?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I did Miss Flyleaf last time. Anyway, Twilight starts.
Okay.
Bronk, bronk.
It's so beautiful.
Oh. Everybody still together? Yes? Good. You really mustn't off right off like that. What would Princess Lysa think if she knew?
Sorry, Miss Flyleaf.
Ooh, right. Okay, everybody, line up for your photos. Swirling Star, come that name, mister. Your library card will also be your hall pass, your lunchroom card, your... Yes, Bumblebreeze, you can take off your glasses if you want. Twilight. Twilight. Twilight Sparkle. Come here, please.
Shh.
Can't I just take a look at the...
You'll have plenty of time to look later.
Grumble, 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 grumble.
Josh. Josh.
Is that the complete Encyclopedia Equestria? The new editions?
Wait. Stop the phone right here. This is something that I just noticed.
What?
Is Twilight looking... She's outside the panel in this frame. She's
Yes,
broken
she
the
is.
fourth wall just as bad as Pinky here.
And not just once, look down.
Yep, then there's the one down there. Sorry about that. Carry on.
Oh, that orrery is beautiful! Look at those lunar phases and everything! Wow, I've heard that they had these hourglasses in the royal palace too. They're supposed to have exactly 1 billion grains of sand in them, and they're accurate within a second every 100 years. Look, it's gonna turn over any moment now. Sorry.
Next,
Incidental.
please.
But I'm gonna miss it turning over.
Smile, please. Glonk.
Whoa, cool.
Here's your library card, but I don't think anybody will recognize you unless you're moving really fast.
Thankfully she is.
Welcome to Through the Fourth Wall. Yeah, I don't know how I could miss that, but yeah, I did. Well, I'll give him
Also
credit.
Twilight Faces.
Well, see, the second and the third one actually makes sense. I can buy those because he just wants to draw the he's just drawing her excitement and then indicating in the actual physical panel that what she's referring to. But the first one, she's actually peering around it. That's
Yep.
that's what caught me there.
Funny thing is that not any of us noticed that last.
Now that you mention it, yes.
Also
Learn
those
them.
faces, they're just perfect.
Some more drop frames. Goody.
Yep.
Anyway, at least it didn't drop.
Don't break so many windows. Then we don't have so much drop frames. So many.
Well, if you guys didn't give me all that crap, I wouldn't be throwing you out the windows.
I see what you did there.
Anyway, so what do you guys have to say about this one?
I think I already did.
Muffinshire's artwork is as adorable as always. I always look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, whenever I... Go ahead.
Same. And it's just like last time, it fulfills all the criteria for a day of the strip. A massive, awesome shots of a background that's stupidly detailed and more detailed than any other comic would have it. Then an adorable moment and then an awkward moment. That's how it normally goes.
Awkward.
I have to imagine why IDW doesn't hire Muffinshire as an official artist and writer. That's just my question. So
It's probably because he's over on the other side of the pond.
might be a good that might be a good reason.
They could start a European division.
Not only that, but in this age of email,
Yep.
huh?
Oceans don't exist on the internet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever. He already got that one for Ring of Raggedy, so hopefully that goes somewhere. If anything, that takes his artistry career somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. How about... I already showed that one. How about this one by Death Pony titled Princess Horse of the Sun? It's a shame that he's kind of laid low because I always enjoyed seeing his work, not just anywhere, but especially in my EQD. No, my DA inbox. This being one of those cases. What do you guys have to say?
Well, judging by the look, she doesn't wear false eyelashes.
Good point.
Princess Celestia's legs just seem a little short to me in this one.
Because she's in the water.
Well,
Rainbow water.
Well, if you take a look at her front right leg, I mean, even though it's bent, it just seems kind of unusually short for me. So
It's less, yeah?
maybe,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's a good picture overall. I mean, I love how he's done the mane and the tail. I mean, you could see all like the individual strands and stuff in there. I love how how reflective and the eyes look. I love the background and how just everything, all the colors just blend together. It's just incredible piece, really.
Took the
It's
words
just-
out of my mouth.
The background used to be fully rainbow colored, but Celestia absorbed those colors, as we can see in this water. Her hair is absorbing those colors, and the rest just loses the pinkness, the blueness, the greenness.
Green.
Celestia, the colorator.
Yeah, I don't think I can really add much more to that.
Like I said last time, this piece of his is a bit more contrasting than his usual pieces.
He really.
Look at the shadow on her neck, for example. You don't see this in his earlier pieces.
No, you don't. Now that you mention it.
It's more stark in this respect, but it's nice. It should be this way, I'd say. It improves. He's improving.
Sounds like he put it. You're making it sound like he put quite a lot of work into this one, and yeah, now that you mention it, I think he did.
Yes, it's an experiment, and it's going fairly well.
Mm-hmm. Come on, Death Pony. Keep it coming, please. All right, let's move on. We got 3 more pieces left, and we'll save the comic one for last. This one is Pinkie Pie's Drum Kit by creator of Pony. As I said back about a week ago, I saw this one, and even though creator of Pony said he's working on, quote, as he puts it, I'll use his words, quote, a render showing the drum kit for awesome as I want to be, end quote. What drew me to this one were 2 things. The drum kit itself, even though he's shown others with their instruments, I think the drum kit's the most impressive because obviously it's probably it has the most pieces to it. The second was, darn it, Pinkie, that smile is way too adorable. Way too adorable.
Oh, it's Pinkie.
True, but that doesn't mean that one can go around toting such cuteness without a license.
I'd only say the lighting is a bit too strong here.
I'm guessing that's what he was going for.
On her face, at least. But, or maybe at least on her eye. But the rest is fine. I think I said perfect last time, and yes, the rest is more or less perfect.
Yeah, I don't really see any real flaws on it myself.
It's just that with this lighting, her eye looks a bit more flat somehow. Kind of less lively, less living.
I was about to say it does have a slight bit of uncanny valleyness to it, but yeah, it's not bad, really.
It's not that bad. It's, come on, I'm just nitpicking here, because otherwise, as I said, it's perfect.
Yeah, ditto. I mean, it's a wonderful looking piece. I really can't find any fault with it.
The audience.
Why, yes, Pinkie Pie does use 2-handed hammers.
There's that. All right, let's move on. Yeah, we're going to be running a little bit over in the first hour, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, so I'm actually happy with that.
Yay.
This next one is titled Equestria, Come and Heat Us by Harwicks. I take that back. There were a total of 4 pieces, including that last one. But anyway, I always enjoy showing Harwick's work. It's always so colorful, so very high detailed. There's a reason his is usually the front page on Equestria Daily. The ones in high pony or high grade pony groups like
High pony groups.
well, whichever ones that he has.
Basically awesome.
Yeah,
Let's leave it at that.
best of MLP arts, or best of, or high quality, yada yada yada, that kind of junk. There's a reason that they always end up there, and I don't really think I need to explain it. It speaks for itself, in other words.
Last time everyone was just focused on Sonata's face, as I remember.
Yep. Yeah, Sonata is just what the F face just sells it for me on this one.
Because she can see through the fourth wall.
I think she's just trying to access her brain. Like, there's some sort of... Think of it like the stream here when it gets disconnected. It irritates everyone. Nobody knows what's going on. For all they know, I'm saying who knows what when it's off. And it's just trying to access it.
And Daria looks like she's the one to blame for the fact that she can't.
Say that again.
That Aria looks like she caused this to Sonata. That troll smile.
Given the way those two operate, I wouldn't be surprised.
She disconnected her memory banks. Bonus points for them sitting on the bank of rocks.
But yeah, I do love how the design is on this. It's a perfect amalgamation and blend of their siren, their human, and a lot of people, ponyfying them. Just a great mixture of all 3 forms: pony, siren, and their EKG human form. It's just it's absolutely amazing, and even with just the 3 of them, I mean, you could tell just the level of detail in with the siren scales, the hair, the fins, the eyes colorations, and just everything is just so masterfully and artfully done. It's just incredible. I love it.
I really like how their leg fins are different.
Mm-hmm.
It's understandable with the head fins, the hair, so to speak, but the leg fins are kind of not required, and yet he did them different for each of them, and it's nice.
Yeah, it gives them an additional degree of individuality.
Also, we didn't quite appreciate something which needs appreciation last time. Look at those scales.
Mm-hmm.
I know how bad it is to draw scales. It's horrible, and look how well he did it. It's impressive.
Yeah,
very.
Another reason why I said it. I mean, it's just scales are generally something that's not done by a lot of artists that I know, but just to see them like this and to see them so almost realistically done, I mean, it's just wow. I mean, I can only imagine just how long it took Harwick to do this. That is just amazing.
I wonder how the gems are attached.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I wouldn't be surprised if they're infused into them.
Oh, that's a good point.
I thought they were a natural part of them before.
I didn't even think about that. That is just... Yeah, you're right.
I thought they grew out of this second chest plate or third chest plate, depending on which one it is. I thought it was a part of their, organism.
So interesting what happens when it's shattered.
Yep.
Huh.
Maybe like unicorn using their horn.
Possibly. Very possible. We'll get to that when we get to them. For now, let's move on. Let's see. Last still image that we have is Do You Want to Build a Snowman by Alasso.
buy some lasso.
There's that. This one fell under, gotta put it in for the cute. I saw this one, and first of all, I thought of a cute scenario, which I'll let you guys read in the comments, but I kind of like the way he put it. More chibis. Quality over cuteness this time. You can't have everything. Well, not all the time, but sometimes you can.
What do you mean quantity over cuteness? Is this not cute?
Exactly. That was kind of what I was hinting at.
Cataloo?
Yes, I never noticed that hat on her, but darn, that's adorable.
Sweetie can hold all this snowmen, I see.
I was just going to mention her.
Those eyes. But the parts that most impresses me most is the top hat dashi. More
Yeah.
specifically, the better top hat dashi.
What?
That had seen better days. So, which makes me wonder.
I love how everyone's just staring at her eating the carrot, and Dash just doesn't understand what's wrong with the whole thing.
Yep.
What? What? I thought it was free food. Like if we got hungry during this.
As you said in the comments, she shortened the nose down to realistic proportions.
Also, Big Mac seems to have a bit of scruff going on under his chin. Under his chin there.
Yep.
Well,
He often does with a lasso. I don't mind. Looks good on him.
and it makes sense from a biology standpoint.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Crazy rabbit pony. All right. There's that. Let's move on to the last comic. This one, I know everyone saw it, but you just want to hear it in my stupid voice, don't you? Don't you?
Of course, always.
BwB Brothers Discord Simulator.
Oh, this is gonna be good.
These gonna be good.
We have, let's see here, Discord, Sonata Dusk, Lyra, and just kind of a whole group shot. We'll just count whoever takes Sonata as the group. Who wants who?
Give me Lyra.
Mr. Ben?
I suppose I could take Discord.
All right.
I could take Discord too, actually, if you want to. I like Discord.
It doesn't matter to me all the way. Stay. So we
Well,
have.
pick one. Someone make a solid...
I'll take Discord. I'll take
Okay.
Discord, sure.
All right.
All right, then.
I guess I'll take the leftover then.
You have Lyra or Sonata, Mr. Ben?
Lyra. Give me Lyra.
All right. Discord starts.
Looking all fabulous, eh? Come on. You can start by scratching behind my ear. Come on. Don't be shy. It gives me goosebumps.
Change!
Flutter, flutter. You're skilled, but why only have quality if I can also have quantity?
My thoughts exactly.
Oh, too much to handle? No problem. No, wait, that's too creepy. What we need is the female touch. Or I do what Celeste did in her simulator.
Warning, the fourth wall has been breached.
And I can do more. And more and more and more and more and more and more and more. Melt, squish, slurp. Universe imploding. Sorry, I had to pull myself together. After all, this is no kindergarten. This is.
Not again!
But let's look for a better location. Too dramatic.
Eek!
Too naughty. Too Lancy. Enough of this. Enough of this. Enough of this. This can't be called a simulator. But what can I do? Simulators are about cuddling and petting and other cheesy rubbish. Think. Time for some research.
I love how these roll down.
And
And yes, he is using something like an iPad or something to bring them up.
Yes, and he's scrolling on it. Try a muffin.
Make it so that at the end, everything was just a dream. People love that.
Discord, I give you a simple advice. Be yourself.
Idea. Boom. I will be myself.
A Luna light, a derpy light, and a celestial light. Leave it to Discord.
Perfect. But that doesn't go for you. Boom. Now we have a pony, but betting something is beneath the spirit of chaos. Why not let someone else do it? Someone new and fresh? Very well.
I guess Sonata was just waiting there.
Hmm?
I'm trying to... a pony! You're so cute, I could eat you up like a taco.
You know what? Why not use all of them?
Suddenly, people, thousands of them.
Wave! Bam, bam, bam.
All I can think of is the Discovery Family spoiler block now.
I wish.
Oh, Rain did such a good job with that one.
He did. You guys didn't really think I would let myself be toyed with, did you? I wanted to try the simulators for myself, but I think I'll just stick with just using my power to make this possible. But if you like these dainty comics, you're in for a treat. Isn't that right, Lyra?
I only tell you this. It's gonna be big!
And we will be there to cover that. Ladies and gentlemen, the Discord Simulator by BwB Brothers.
Indeed, the best yet.
Definitely. It packs quite a lot into, what, the however many panels this thing has?
And let's be honest with ourselves. Would anything less be fitting for Discord?
No, absolutely not.
Ow.
What?
I just would roll on my neck and pop something again.
Oh, anyway, I love how it goes from craziness to a change of scenery to obviously the only outcome that we possibly could have wanted, Discord running into John Delancey, or at least in the background. That was funny. To him,
That's why I did this. Da 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 da.
exactly. To this, the scene where he pulls from the other simulators, to bringing in Sonata Dusk, why I don't know, but not complaining, to then announcing what can only be described as some other project in the works. What a world.
Also, that human
Yeah.
makes me think of Mr. Torque Flexington. We should bonify him at last.
All I can think of now is some sort of reverse simulator. Like a human interacting with a pony.
That would be good.
Anyway.
From Lyra's perspective.
Huh?
From Lyra's perspective.
Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, sorry. I already did post it. Anyway, let's move on to the video, shall we?
Yes, we
All
shall.
right.
All right. I will hold the call here for a minute and get him brought up. This first one is titled, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Three Spirit Houses Alliance. And there we go. All right, I'll bring up this next one. This one I saw on EQD later in the week, somewhere that neighborhood. Flutter's Snowland by Fizzy Noise. Flutter's Snowland by Fizzy Noise. All right. We're already about 20 minutes into the second hour here. Let me get the guys back on. Hello.
Hey.
Red.
Me too.
All right. Get you guys on this side. All right, folks. You know the drill now. Let's start talking about Queen Chrysalis. What are the opening lines? What do you guys have to say about her?
Best voice ever.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I love just how unusual the design is for just a quadrupedal villain bleh, in this particular franchise. It's just wow. And I see what Matt the Shadow Man did there. She's a bit of a holy character. Ha 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 ha. Throw him out the window. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm so cheesy. So cheesy.
That one was terrible too, Tim.
I'm not sorry.
Oh, I didn't expect you to be. Just letting some of the other comments flow in here. On your note, though, Ben, I will let's give credit where credit is due. They were all the changelings were designed by Rebecca Dart. She has a Twitter account for the record, so if you want to follow her, you can. And
Sweet.
what was I was going to say? But I want to kind of want to set the tone with everyone here. Let's talk about what they're based upon.
All right.
The changelings were, I believe I mentioned before that they come from an old folklore. They're from. Go ahead.
I don't mean to cut you off, but yes, the changelings do come from an old fairy tale folklore in which I don't really know much about it myself, but the origin of the changelings were that they actually replaced human babies with their own kind, and that they were to be growing up in with the human family, feeding off of the love that the parents had for their kid.
Yep.
From what I understand, anyway.
Yep, that's exactly it. That's the only difference is that what I'll add is that it comes from medieval folklore of fairies, elves, or trolls, or the ilk of that type. Mythological beings who would take their babies, steal away the human baby, replace it with theirs, and have that baby, the changeling, be raised by human parents. It was basically swallowed poorly there. It was designed to reflect concerns over children being born with unexplained diseases, disorders, or development disabilities. For those meddling fillies. So that's where the changeling origin came about. I always like it when I can connect, I can see, so that's where they based it off of. This is what they did with them. So it's no wonder that the changelings look horseish in nature. That they feed off of love. That they're basically, that's just it. They shapeshift themselves into something that the one loves, and
that's it.
And that's it. Well, no, then they would replace themselves, just like what Queen Chrysalis did, basically. Also, yes,
Yep.
ejex.exe has stopped working. There, I did the joke for you guys. So what do you have to... Okay, got another one. What do you guys have to say about the changelings in the sense of... in the show? It's a bit of a broad question, I know, and we'll probably get specific from here on out, but... in regards to them in the show itself, what do you guys have to say about them?
Well, the fact that they... Go ahead.
Yeah. I want to just shortly mention that they are the first villain army we see in play.
That was something I was going to get to, so I'm glad you mentioned it. Go ahead.
just the fact that they came out of nowhere is just incredible. The fact that we never even heard about them, there was no foreshadowing whatsoever on them.
I already mentioned that in our last episode, but yeah, I want
It
to
bears
expand
repeating.
upon that. Yeah, it bears repeating. And there's another thing that I want to add on from both of you guys. Yeah, they come from out of nowhere. They're an army. They're basically their own set of. How do I want to put this? They're their own species. Expanding upon this makes them the first set of villains anyway, I should say, that is, they do not come from over 1,000 years ago, that we know of course.
Yeah.
They're the first villain that uses an army to solve its problems. And this is also the first villain that is composed of multiple parts. I'll get more into this when we get to the sirens, but I say this on the basis of, with the changelings, that they have their head, the queen, and the entire subordinates. One thing that I want to touch upon, a lot of the stuff I'm going to touch upon here, folks, is more from a outside perspective, from what the fandom has given me. So, and no, it's not all an attack. I'm just basically stating a few things here. Some of it I agree with from them, as a matter of fact. One thing I want to touch upon while I'm thinking of it is, everyone says that these guys are parasites. I have to disagree with that because, by definition, a successful parasite latches onto its host and doesn't kill it. That's the big key crux of my argument here, is that the changelings, based upon the fact that they move around, the fact that, by Chrysalis' own words, it sounds like that Shining Armor would have eventually died if nothing had happened. This paints them as predators. They're a hunter-gatherer society, the opposite being an agricultural society. And yeah, about to get all sciencey on you guys, so feel free
That's
to
what's necessary.
tune out. But
That's what's necessary.
yeah, they come across more as predators. Hunter-gatherer society. In a hunter-gatherer society, as its name implies, what they do is, as its
Hunt and
name
gather.
says, they hunt for their food or they gather it. So, or both, of course. Chrysalis has made it sound, as I said, that they've gone through other places. So, Equestria has more love than we've ever encountered. She would have to have some reference in order to make that statement.
Indeed, and while indeed we did not see on the screen whether or not the effects of these changeling spell stuff that Chrysalis puts Shining under is actually lethal or just harmful or whatever, what you point out, what's their modus operandi, how they go about things, how they are structured, what she says, how they act, seem to suggest exactly that.
I've seen a lot of theories on the changelings, in that they were actually very, very interesting from what I've seen. One of which was that changelings at large in particular aren't really so much whatchamacallit. One fan theory that I found really interesting was that the changelings at large are not villainous or bacterial, like virus or anything like that.
It's more they're doing it because it's their nature, not because
they have no choice
for some sadistic pleasure.
Yeah, they have no choice.
Well, it's not just that, but this alternate theory was actually something I found very interesting. Was that one of the changelings was that they deliberately were doing this to help out ponies in a way to where, like, let's say a pony gets lost and wanders into the wilderness and winds up dying as a result of starvation or hunger or something like that, but a wild changeling comes across the dying pony and decides to impersonate said pony to return to the family to actually provide for that particular family and feed off of their love for them in a way of like that. And I thought, well, okay, that's kind of an odd way to go about that, especially considering that this is a species-wide thing we're thinking of as opposed to a rather individualistic thing.
Mhm.
But in a way, it also would help in regards to, like, say, providing childless families with children of their own. The old baby on the doorstop thing, the stork delivering the baby issue. Instead of the stork delivering it, it would be like a changeling family, you know, delivering one of their own to the pony family. And it's kind of odd and kind of, I don't know how that is, but the theory painted Chrysalis has the only actively malevolent force in the changeling armies, in that she's actively taking a step forward to do this based upon her own megalomaniacal desires. But to be perfectly honest, I think I'd rather go with the idea of that, like you mentioned before. It's really more of a I prefer
What he
I
said.
hate it. Yeah, I prefer them doing it as they have no choice to do this. That's what I'm trying to say.
To some degree,
Well-
I have to disagree with that theory, and I'll get to the reasons why. But that leads to another point that I want to get to. But Tim, did you have
let me
anything to
just
say?
cover it all. Let me just cover it all, kind of give it a framework, essentially. Let's take a step back. That's changelings. First, they were a sudden introduction. Secondly, we know next to nothing about them, only from what Chrysalis said at the wedding, which is not much, just a few lines. And they also have several aspects about them that, well, are very intriguing and interesting. Basically, they are the perfect speculation and fan work fuel. And as we can see with all these theories that we have just voiced even here, they're not even the tip of the iceberg. They're more like a snowflake on an iceberg. I would say that the changelings in general are a great addition to the show in this way. A great addition to the universe, because at the very least, because even with the expanded universe telling us more things about them, they are still very much great speculation and fan work fuel, and can be interpreted, can be debated, can be analyzed, can be thought about, and they're fun.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about them, is because, you know, that's the whole reason they are largely unknown, and that's what gives us a whole bunch to work off of.
Unknown but interesting. Not just a random monster from the shadows, but they have some kind of intriguing aspect about them.
You guys are beating around a big bush that I wanted to get to, but I'll get there when we get there. Carry on. Feel free to carry on. Matt, go ahead. Sorry.
I was about to say, I will like how we seen this in the show, where when you first see Cadence, or I should say not Cadence, Chrysalis disguised as Cadence, when they use magic, they have a very distinct magical aura that
Oh yes.
that tips them off to their true nature. When
And
you,
It's
I was
funny
about to say, go
that
ahead.
how it's actually even kind of, you know, gives them away just by way of people being used to different things. As when we were talking about this during the last episode, I pointed it out several times how different this magical aura looks, and it's nothing we have ever seen on any unicorn or alicorn before. And it's not just different as in special, but different as in something is off about it. And it's great, I'd say, that they actually did it this way. That kind of an early warning tip that it's an impersonator.
I mentioned to you guys about from the outside universe standpoint of it, so I'll say that for when we get there. But I want to then ask everyone, Tim and Ben and the audience included, what do you guys have to say about changelings in terms of from the fandom's perspective? What are some things that you guys have seen in the fandom that maybe you guys want to touch upon while we're on the subject of the changeling?
Oh yes, I want to start with something important, and I will also bring the comics into the equation if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Just
sure.
mention something
For
commonly
the
known about them.
Before you go on, I want to mention to everyone, yes, you're free to talk about the comic arc here. This is outside of the canon that we run with. Um, that being said, I personally am not going to touch much upon them because most of what I'm going to say here is going to translate there. But yeah, feel free to speak what you wish.
The pretty much the biggest debate in the fandom about changeling has been their kind of individuality thing, whether they are actual individuals or whether they are a hive mind. And as the comics show us, they are at least approved of to be individuals and individual enough to have their own personalities, their own quirks, and so on, and independent from the queen, but seem to have some sort of connection with them. It's actually my favorite theory and my favorite view on them, but this debate about whether they are drones or whether they are individuals is probably the biggest and the most defining about them in the fandom.
Go on.
And well, I've over the time since they've been introduced, I've run into both kinds of view on this matter. I would say that again, this kind of changelings as individual standpoint always appealed to me more and found more support both in the show, what little we have seen of the changelings, and then it was pretty much said it was canon in the comics, but well, comics are fuzzy canon, so I won't touch it much.
This leads to a huge point of mine that I wanted to touch over, and that's more. There's a fandom theory that states that the changelings could be integrated into pony society or any other society for that matter, and this was that big bush I was telling you all about.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about it myself in the course of developing my own alternate universes, actually. That didn't go anywhere, as usual it is with me, but it's still an interesting thought experiment. Well, as I see it, it could be possible, but the way they are currently organized is making it impossible, so to speak.
There's nothing that I've come to the logical conclusion of, or I say logical, of course. Using deductive reasoning, I have yet to see any possibility of the changelings ever being integrated into any society. The exception might be as if canon comes along and says they can eat other things other than love. However, I don't see that happening. And the reason being is because that's like saying it's like saying you could feed a horse meat and it would survive. True, but its main diet is plants. It's an herbivore.
Well, the question is what counts as love for them.
True.
And that's another thing, is because love does exist in so many different forms. I mean, you have your romantic love, you've got your familiar love, you've got your love between friends, and then you've got your all-encompassing love for every living being.
And I would also like to mention something Chrysalis said at the wedding, that she was looking for true love, but that's what I wanted to kind of ask about and think about.
But
if true love means kind of grand romantic love, then does that mean that it's a very, very limited supply, or it's kind of, you know, if saying that only this qualifies as changeling food, then it's a very rare find, and it brings into question how they are actually feeding. As Chrysalis said, go feed to them. That means that she isn't distributing the absorbed love from herself to the swarm, but the swarm feeds on their own.
So I wouldn't be shocked
the question is
virtually anything that any kind.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Because it would be kind of a big issue to find enough true love in all of Equestria to feed this 10,000 sized changeling swarm that we saw in the sky over Cancelot.
But here's my argument. You guys are overlooking something. Regardless of what love they feed on, they still drain the energy of the individual that they feed upon.
The question is how much?
And that leads me to my other point. What would they have to do? Go on some sort of ration? who would want to live like that, especially as predators, as the predator side of thing? Who would ever want to live on rations like that?
Well, if it means that they don't need to fight for it, and they don't need to go on the go be like fugitives again and can live normal lives, kind of like those around them, instead of living this vampiric clan kind of thing, then it's really more of an individual choice thing.
They wouldn't.
What matters more for you? What matters more for the other guy? And for someone it might look, for someone it might seem unbearable to ever limit your kind of consumption, and for another it would be a natural thing.
Exactly. As I said, going on a ration like this though would be a terrible existence. It's nothing more than a food ration than some government-controlled food ration here in our world. You would have starvation. You would have long lines. You would have pandemonium, chaos in the streets, and cats and dogs living together kind of thing.
I would say that it wouldn't be
That
quite the
Ghostbusters
case.
reference.
Although cats and dogs living together would be the case, I would say, thanks to the changelings. But I would say that the mechanism is rather different. It can't be compared to our world.
And
Because
even look at it from the prey standpoint, for that matter. Now that I think about it, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but look at it from the prey standpoint. How would you like to have something feeding off of you daily?
well, it depends. Again, it depends on how we look at it, how we set it up. Because if it's a kind of individual arrangement, and what I wanted to talk about the most is the personalities of individual changelings. That is, they are individuals, as assuming they are individuals in canon, because most evidence points to that, but we never have it stated directly outside of comics. In comics, we get it. Assuming changelings are individuals, they have personalities, and assuming they have personalities, they can be personally befriended, and well, they are weird ponies out there, maybe even loved properly. Then the question becomes, why wouldn't they be accepted by by one of these ponies? Then it would ensure the survival of at least some of them, which would be a kind of natural regulator of the population.
And now you're...
And
Go ahead, sorry.
As if they are proven to be peaceful, if they are accepted into pony society, then ponies will become more accepting of them, kind of, mending, building bridges and so on, and they'll become accepted in the society, and it'll be okay to be friends with them, to love them, and so on. The big question then only becomes whether they are interbreedable, but that's probably not a question for this episode. Although I'll leave that up to you.
There's another crux of the argument that you aren't taking into account, and that's, I don't think the changelings could ever have emotions for their victims. It's like a lion having feelings for the wildebeest that it kills. Imagine if it did.
We're talking about animals who don't quite have higher reasoning, and here we are talking about someone who has higher reasoning.
Well, imagine now thinking of something that would, yeah, okay, fair enough, true. But that does not ignore my point. Imagine now being aware that, oh, snap, I'm feeding off of something I love. I'm slowly killing something I love.
Well, again, it would be the game stopper kind of game breaker if it were lethal. So if it's lethal, if it definitely kills the prey, then yes, it would make integration pretty much impossible. But if it doesn't, if it can be non-lethal, and if it can be kind of acceptable and not crippling, then I don't see why at least one case can't exist. Another question that I wanted to kind of examine here is how the changelings actually reproduce, because we see the Queen Chrysalis. She's the queen. Is she an insect queen, or is she kind of different because she looks different than them? Which
Personally,
kind of suggests... Yeah,
I don't mind to cut you off, but this is actually something I've been discussing over with a couple of other friends of my own. I've always considered the changelings kind of like very similar to insects in regards to, like, say, bees and ants in particular, in that the changeling queen is indeed the queen, and instead of the remaining changelings not so much being drones, but being like her children in regards to just like individual species of the same kind. That she lays the eggs, and I don't know how they get fertilized or anything of that nature, but they grow, and they hatch, and they basically are responsible for creating that particular hive. That's just my opinion, though.
And well, that's what I'm mostly talking about. That's integration into pony society would probably mean that they would need to find a viable way of reproduction and a viable kind of social arrangement to make it both acceptable and have a kind of framework for it. Well, you understand.
I have seen another theory, which I think is actually rather interesting. I don't know how plausible it is, but the other integration theory that I'm aware of is that changelings will actively kidnap, or full nap, I should say, other ponies, and will actively encase them into cocoons, like how you see in like a Canterlot
Basically
wedding.
vampires.
Essentially, yes.
Basically vampires.
Yeah, but essentially just transforming them physically from pony to changeling of their own.
Which could also kind of be a viable theory, actually, because in this sense we would have Queen Chrysalis as the original kind of vampire, original changeling, and those she turned would be following her, and those that are turned by them would be following her too. So it kind of makes sense for her to command them like she does.
Possible. Or that goo they use is just, sticky and wholesome. It's a possibility. I'm not going to deny that. It's just a matter of...
Just like I said at the beginning, that there is so much possible about them. So many possible and perfectly viable theories and aspects. And we were given just enough to get our brains running. But pretty much no explanation otherwise. So it's kind of a perfect topic for brainstorming and thinking of possibilities. Yeah.
Crazy rabbit pony. Maybe that's it. I wouldn't be shocked if some of the soldiers are, male. They would have to have male subjects, and well, they would have to have a male subject somewhere if they did sexual reproduction anyway.
Maybe they keep the drones back somewhere.
Or maybe they're at the front of the line. Who knows? Matt the Shadowman brought up Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Ben.
I was about to say, I actually, that's how I've imagined what Crazy Rabbit Pony does there, that insects produce asexually. That's how I've personally always imagined that happening, is that there is no male, there is no, outside source. They just sort of lay their own eggs and bam, that's it. That's just my idea, and as it is. But, go ahead, and as you were about to say.
I was going to say, Matt brought up a good point about could they establish their own permanent kingdom somewhere? This was something that I didn't get the chance to touch on. I would say no, I don't think they could. The reason being is because, again, it's their society, a hunter-gatherer society. They're constantly moving around to find food, so a permanent establishment would mean that they would either have to...
I would say they could establish a kingdom with on one condition. If they could get a population of kind of cattle, so to speak, to pay a tithe to them in love for either protection or for just not killing them, kind of, the usual dragon arrangement.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
A symbiotic relationship I can see working. A self-sustaining one, no.
Yes, exactly that.
Yeah, Thunderbolt put it best. They're like locusts. So yeah, how apropos that they're
insects.
They're insectoid in nature. They're not necessarily
Not necessarily insects,
but they're very heavily based upon them.
Yes. Well, it's Matt, as you bring it up, it's really like locusts. Then when they might have breathing explosions like locusts do when they run into when they run into too much food run into food surpluses. There are similar population explosions among rats and among other species that are not even insectoids. So it's not really something strange. It's common in the real world.
Theirs is based upon the. You look up a predator-prey relationship, Matt the Shadow Man, you'll find your answer there. So they're not. I don't think they have to fear extinction, but they would have to fear food shortages at some point.
That
There's
actually
something
brings
similar. Yes.
that actually brings up a good question that I have now that you mention it. If they're in a predator-prey relationship, if the changelings prey upon the ponies, what preys upon the changelings? What's their predator, if there is one?
I say there doesn't have to be.
They might be the apex predator.
Exactly.
And actually, that makes a kind of sense because, well, the ponies are herbivores, and the changelings look like the natural predator of ponies.
Or of anything for that matter.
Well, yes, assuming anything that can have love. Assuming that others are not deficient in this respect, then yes.
Right.
Well, as Thunderchild, mentions here, shifting gears a little bit on this, we've never really seen the changelings, outright attack anything. All they've ever done has been subterfuge and deception. And I actually have to admit something here. I was linked a video by, I believe, J.E. Smith, who actually had got me thinking. There was a lot of talk that says that Queen Chrysalis's invasion plan actually failed and that she didn't account for a lot of things, specifically Twilight Sparkle. But the video that I saw was actually rather interesting in that Chrysalis actually deliberately did know about Twilight and actually deliberately had gone to a ridiculous degree of study, a ridiculous degree of just looking into things, and had indeed cast her characterization to where she would seem off to Twilight, but would actually be playing to the unknown, to her friends who didn't know anything about her. So
Before you go on, I'm going to stop you because I want to talk about Queen Chrysalis herself before we get to her plan. That was one of the things I wanted to talk about. So,
okay.
So
fair enough.
Feel free to come back to that. I just want to get to point A before we get to point B, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
So, everyone, what do you have to say about Queen Chrysalis herself?
For a monster,
like we
she's
said,
surprisingly rather sweet. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go on.
For a monster, she's surprisingly very well designed. I love how she's been designed. That's all I'm going to say. That muzzle.
I was going to say too. So
Chrysalis,
I wanted to say
go
that
ahead.
she has very, very, very big eyes. Look at her.
Well,
The proportions of her face.
she's insectoid, so
Yes,
big eyes only make more sense to her.
indeed they do. But in a kind of, it kind of also underlines that she is not fully she is not a full insect because she has normal kind of pony-style eyes aside from the whole double
The
cat
slit,
slit.
the slit
and-
eyes versus the circular
Yes.
pupil.
Yes. She actually seems to have both, strangely. And, well, she was awesome enough to inspire my only fanfic, which I don't recommend anyone read, so it speaks a lot about it because I don't normally commit to anything like this. So she impressed me a lot. The concept, the idea, the design, the voice, bloody hell, that voice.
Yes.
Oh yes,
It's still
the voice.
one of the worst voices I have ever had to try and imitate. And it's still to this day is right up there on the top of my list of worst voices
Auto-tune.
and it's because of the fact that it's two voices and it sits right at my break point and it's just which one do I pick? If I pick one, you're going to complain, that's not the one, it doesn't sound good enough. And I pick the other, I'm going to get the same thing. Anyway, carry on.
Well, I also noticed that she has a special wing sound to her
Yeah, you
compared
mentioned
to
that.
the rest of the changelings.
She has a what?
That
She,
well, her wings sound different.
True.
It's interesting. A little bit that kind of underlines her difference from them. Those normal changelings just sound like flies, while she sounds, it's a kind of odd warped sound, like I don't know, someone plucking a string
Maybe it was something
in
more
an odd way.
like a bigger fly, like a horse or a deer fly. I'll check back in on that. I'm sure I've heard that noise before. I kind of mentioned about some of the uniqueness of the changelings at the start of this discussion, but something else that I want to touch upon is Chrysalis herself. There was one. How do I want to put this? She's not omnipotent. Up to this point, folks, even up to this point in terms of where the whole series is, she's the only villain that we've encountered who doesn't have some sort of omnipotent force to her. Whether whether initially or by or eventually, Chrysalis isn't omnipotent. She has to use, so therefore she has to use strategy, deception, and other means like that in order to overcome her problems. So that makes her a very unique villain. This leads credence to what where Mr. Ben was going, is that Chrysalis was actually a very smart villain. And I would have to agree with that. And when we get to her strategy, he's going to touch pretty much on every point that's important. But I think that's exactly where a lot of how do I put this? Having to use strategy to overcome your problems, I think that's exactly where a lot of the plan comes from. Her planning and her actions.
She's actually probably the most vulnerable villain to date.
Mm-hmm.
She's the least protected because, well, just take any other. Nightmare Moon always had full power, always powerful, always hard to beat. Discord, well, he was just defeated because he got careless. Then Sombra had a trap gauntlet that would have been unbeatable if it weren't for a spanner in the works.
Mm-hmm.
Then T-Rex just needs to drain a few ponies or maybe a few dozen ponies to be a mighty presence in his own right. But Chrysalis has some very odd requirements in if she wants to get more powerful, and she's just forced to use complex tactics and infiltration and so on in order to have a shot at accomplishing what she wants to accomplish.
She's definitely a very proud character. I'll say that right off the bat.
She is.
agreed.
She's also very sadistic. This leads kind of back to what I said about the changelings having no emotions for their victims. I'll add on, they can have emotions for themselves. You know, the other changelings. That's nothing out of the realm of possibility there. But and you guys, especially in the comics, you probably know what I'm talking about. For those of you who have read it, you probably know exactly what I'm referring to when I say that she's sadistic. But case in point, I can use that. Or I could use the fact that I don't think she had any... She said it herself, I don't love the groom, but I still want him to be all mine. I think she enjoys causing pain. I really do.
Well, I would say that there are plenty of humans who are likewise sadistic, but at the same time, there are plenty of humans who are not. So I would not rule out the possibility that changelings can be different. That's just that the one that we have seen so far has been exactly that, sadistic. And seeing that she's the most prominent of them all, she's the commander, the leader, so of course her tactics are like that. Also, I wanted to mention something on the sidelines and something on the side, that changelings so far are probably the most magical and magic-reliant race to date. Because where other ponies can probably survive without magic if their magic is taken away from them. Changelings cannot. They depend on magic for their very survival.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I really can't say anything against that either myself, so. I'm about to say, I mean, it could possibly be that they do feed on other sources, like, plants or something, but not to the extent to where they would be able to sustain themselves for long off of an alternate source.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and that's what I wanted to mention, seeing as it's getting late, so maybe we should, I don't know. It'll be
Still
your
got a little
call.
time. Keep going.
Yeah, good, great. So what I anyway wanted to mention is that ultimately many key points about changelings and making and passing a judgment on what they are and who they are and how to treat them, how to take them, hinge on assumptions that cannot be proven by existing canon material. That can only be taken as a matter of opinion as opposed to a matter of facts that cannot be, interpreted differently. That's pretty much all the endpoint theories that we have voiced here. They are all dependent upon assumptions and opinions taken as a kind of, objective thing in the universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Because one can have an opinion that changelings have no capacity to feel emotion for ponies, while others might have an opinion that they do have a capacity to feel emotion for ponies, as in, see them as equal or similar to themselves. And one may see the changelings as an insect race that necessarily has to obey their queen, and they have a kind of override, and others may.
Here we go.
And
I think okay, never mind. You cut out for a second there.
the other big point is the question is, are there other hives and other queens? That's another big question.
That's a good one.
And that's another question that we cannot answer because we only know of one. There is nothing either saying there is another queen, another hive, another group of changelings, or saying there is none. Maybe there is. We don't know.
You'd think if there were, though, that they would have joined with Chrysalis. A super hive, basically.
Not
They could live in another part
necessarily.
of the
True.
world.
That is true.
Because we have heard we at least know of another pony kingdom. At least we know of Saddle Arabia,
Mm-hmm.
and who knows? Maybe they live with the griffins too. So you see where I'm going. That's it's not really provable that so far right now, not really provable that there are no other changeling hives. As just like it's not provable that they are not capable of rebellion and the like, and that's something you wanted to mention, yes? Something
Kind of.
Go on then.
Personally, I do think there are other changeling hives, but they aren't so much in regards to, being like, what's the term I'm thinking of? Willing to form an alliance. They have their own particular addendas, their own particular goals to strive for. And like I said, the one theory that I had was that, Chrysalis was probably maybe the only truly malevolent changeling queen that there was out of the various hives that there were. That there were multiple hives, but the changelings, preferred to keep to themselves. They preferred to be isolationist. They preferred to just, keep to their own desires. And then Chrysalis had to go and expose them and try to take over Equestria by attacking or infiltrating Canterlot, and henceforth just slathering the changeling's name, just dragging their name through the mud in general, and perhaps causing, changelings all across Equestria to be possibly targeted as, enemies of the pony race, when overall, aside from Chrysalis, they probably just want to be left alone. But again, that's just a theory and it's just speculation. So
Why don't we move on then to the strategy? Mr. Ben, you have the stage?
yes. Yeah, that states the one that I had was that there was a lot of common fan theories state that Chrysalis's attack or her infiltration of Canterlot failed specifically because she failed to take Twilight into account. The theory that I've actually recently came across that I actually thought was really cool wasn't so much that she failed to take Twilight into account, but rather she was aware of Twilight from the very beginning and actually deliberately designed her attack strategy based around that. She knows this is basically, let me back up a little bit. Everyone knows about the elements of harmony, yes? Where the elements were used to defeat Nightmare Moon. They were used to create, to seal away discord, because the events that occurred around them, Everlasting Night and the whole chaos abounding around Equestria, those are things that you can't really ignore. So I would like to think that Chrysalis would be aware of those events and aware of the elements of harmony that was used to stop those two. And she was aware of the elements of harmony while she was planning on the infiltration of Canterlot.
Even if she wasn't, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah,
Even
go
if
ahead.
she wasn't aware of those events, I don't think it's out of reason, out of the possibility of reason for her to have done a quick survey of the place and realize, gee, high tower. What do you think is in there?
And well, I would also like to support Ben in this regard, because we see that the Element Tower is pretty much the first place changelings occupy in Canterlot, and they do so en masse. That is, they all pile into this place. I think it says that she knew exactly what is being kept there, and that she needs to take that.
Yeah, and that was the point I was going to make, is that she knows of the elements. She knows of their weakness. She doesn't need to seal away all of them. She just knows that if she takes out one of them, then the whole set is rendered useless. And that's why she's targeting Twilight. She's able to target Twilight because Twilight herself is the personal student of Princess Celestia herself, and she's also the sister of the Shining Armor, who's supposed to be set to marry Cadence. She's planning that by targeting Shining Armor to drain his love, she's able to go ahead and play to Twilight's own suspicions of the knowledge of her knowledge of Cadence, and is able to isolate her from her friends and to separate her and effectively eliminate her as a factor to prevent the elements of harmony from working, and thus far let her guide go off without a hitch. This is basically, a little bit of support could possibly be seen on this, to where when she actually defeats Celestia in combat, when Celestia orders Twilight and her friends to go after the elements of harmony, when they reach that tower, like Tim said, you see changelings practically just crawling out of the woodwork as soon as they get in there. I mean, the whole place is just covered top to bottom in changelings. So they already know of the elements, and they know how to neutralize them. So
I wanted to kind of make a specific, not really criticism, maybe an adjustment of this idea. Like the chat says, it would possibly be easier to target someone else, and I would also like to say that it would probably be easier to even, if necessary, even kidnap one of them directly, better than they did Twilight, but earlier have arrange for someone going on a trip and so on, maybe even something as peaceful as that. If she wanted to just take one, I would say that she did not know that the elements are only possible to activate with specific ponies. It could be that she was still operating under the assumption that Celestia could activate them. So what she wanted to do is to take over the elements physically so that she cannot use them or anyone else. So that her changelings control the point, so to speak. The capture point crusaders.
Capture point crusaders.
I think I can expand upon everyone's points here. And I think I know where you're going with that one. I didn't see that video, but I can, or I came to.
I,
I take that back. I did. I'm sorry. I know the one you're referring to. I saw that, but let me state some other points that fill in some holes here. Let's think about it another way, from Chrysalis' standpoint, disguised as Cadence. Twilight's, of course, going to be the most snoopy thing there, as we see. She, and of course, as the video pointed out, Twilight, or what I said back when we reviewed this, the other ponies, the others, count this up as just pre-wedding stress. And I said, that makes sense from their standpoint. I can't say I blame them. The problem is that Twilight doesn't see it that way. Chrysalis, on the other hand, thinks, maybe she says just that. Get rid of the elements of harmony through Twilight. Or, since Twilight is just the only one who poses any significant threat, that is to say, she's the only one who says, she's evil, kill her, something like that. That's where Chrysalis is seeing her as a threat.
Yes, I would say that.
Regardless of the reason, she needs to be dealt with. And as Matt asked, wouldn't it be easier to target someone else? This leads to my next point. Chrysalis probably realized this is perfect with Twilight being all suspect. I don't have to worry about the other 5. In fact, I'm going to turn everyone against Twilight, which is exactly what she does with the wedding rehearsal scene. Twilight comes in here, she's evil! And as I already said, that's a pretty big accusation if you're going to be throwing that one around. If you, and as I said as well, you're also going to need evidence to back that up. That evidence that she presented was weak, at best. So with Chrysalis playing, feigning, or with her running out, why are you throwing all these accusations at me, when there's another logical, even better explanation, Shining Armors, that says
all of her evidence doesn't work.
Yep, that all of her evidence doesn't work, and here's a better explanation. You really look like an idiot when you're saying so-and-so is evil, and there's evidence that says otherwise. So it's no wonder that, as I said back then, it's no wonder that all of Twilight's friends and family abandoned her, which makes it perfect for Queen Chrysalis, because you're gone, Twilight. See you in the caves. Bye-bye. Who's going to care that Twilight is not at the wedding?
Yes.
She made the
perfect pretext.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it right there, Tim.
Her absence would be perfectly sensible.
So now this leads to the next point of, unfortunately for her, Twilight and Cadence, the real one, were able to escape the cave. And this leads to her having to reveal herself. Unfortunately for her, she probably was, as I said, at that point, backed into a corner. It was either stay disguised and eventually get dissected, metaphorically speaking, by the Canterlot guards, or launch the attack there.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, she was just backed right there into a corner. I mean, if she'd remained, disguised, then, she would have been found out eventually. So it's like, okay, time to drop the act. Let's just go ahead and, to heck with it, go for broke.
And really, the only pony that even posed a threat to her at that point was Celestia, who we eventually see.
And it was clear that right from the context that, when they fought, when Chrysalis overpowered
Celestia.
When Chrysalis overpowered Celestia, even Chrysalis herself was surprised. Mm-hmm. I mean, she wasn't expecting that to happen. So
it wasn't going according to plan.
No.
She was just making a last stand there, just didn't want to go down without a fight. And then she wins. And what I wanted to say is that these tactic, indeed, I would say that it's was to not to eliminate the elements of harmony prematurely, and it was more likely to just to occupy the place. And as for the bearers, whom she may or may not have been aware with as of their properties, that only they can activate them and so on, she took away all suspicion from herself, from the pony she was impersonating, rather, because it was easy enough to eliminate anyone who knew Cadence well enough to, or at least to know, or at least suspect that what she was doing, how she was acting, was not just wedding stress. And it was essentially just Twilight. So that's the reason she targeted Twilight, I would say. And in the end, what got her in the butt was essentially a poor choice of the location she set Twilight to. The question is whether she could send her elsewhere, or did she really have to put her next to Cadence, because if Twilight escaped on her own, it would be just a repeat of the end of the first episode all over again. That she has no evidence, she just looks worse now, and she still says the same things. And Cadence would have still been imprisoned, and so on. And on her own, Cadence would not have escaped, probably.
I don't know. She might have. I mean, we've seen her shoot laser beams. We see her shoot laser beams later in Three's a Crowd.
She did spend 3 days or 4 days or however many days there, and she did not escape by then. So
that raises a point. We don't know how long she's spent in there.
Yep. So she may not be strong enough to escape on her own. She did not escape already.
I've thought about how long Cadence could be in that cave, and the question is just a matter of hydration. How long has she stayed hydrated? Because now I don't know how long horses can go without water. I know humans can go about a day and a half without water before they die. So we'll kind of use that as our baseline here. We'll round up and say about 2 days.
Let me try to look that up myself here.
Okay.
There might be a water source in the caves, or many.
True. We don't see it though. That's the big problem.
Yes.
And it doesn't look like there's one in her cell, quote unquote cell. So, if Cadence's condition paints her that she hasn't been there for very long, maybe a day at the most. We do see a time change. We do see a day scene, a night scene, and when they get out of the cave, a day scene. So it's probably a safe assumption that she spent maybe about a day or so in the cave itself.
Well, a day would be rather little because, well, the main six spend more time than a day in Canterlot. At least because of that. I would say that her deception ran at least half a day longer than that.
It's possible.
And yes, caves do have water, and caves don't have food, so, or at least much food.
You can go without food a lot longer than you can go without water.
Yes, exactly. So it could be likely that Cadence was put in there more than 1 or 2 days longer, and she could perfectly well survive if there is a water source somewhere in there. But without food, she would still be weak.
Yeah, most hating to cut in on here. I'm looking up on a bit of research. The standard amount of time that I could see for how long a horse or a pony can go without water is about generally 3 to 4 days.
Okay, so yeah, if we use
which would
2
fit.
days, yeah, it fits within our time frame. So yeah, we'll use that as 3 to 4 days as the maximum. So
it sounds likely.
So 1 or 2 days does sound within reason. And I wouldn't be shocked if she got a drink before they got there. Who knows? I don't know, but the point is yeah, about 1 to 2 days is where I pin Cadence being in that cave.
But ultimately, that's the problem is that she didn't put Twilight far enough. She put them right next to each other, and it was possible to escape from the place because as the musical numbers seem to show that Cadence looked into a distance somewhere in the cave. There is a huge cave out there that it isn't a walled-in enclosure. It's an open cave. Mm-hmm. So she put them right next to a possible escape route, and Cadence was actually on it, so she wasn't enclosed seemingly.
It might be a case of
It was a labyrinth, but not a cell.
no, I think it was easy access for Chrysalis later.
Likely. But the problem is that it could be used the other way, as
True.
they did. Exactly what they did.
I think at this point we're just splitting hairs on the matter.
Yeah.
In the end, what got Chrysalis is her pride, as usual.
As always. It's always pride. Hey, you ever noticed that? Or no, we've talked about this before. I know we did.
Yes, we did.
But yeah, it seems that has there ever been, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but has there ever been a villain in this entire franchise that has not been brought down by their own hubris at some point?
There was. I think there was Sombra. Because Sombra's threat, which was traps, was not affected by hubris. It was the best he could do. And he, until the very end, he strived to get to that heart as fast as he could.
His original downfall, though, was caused by excessive pride. And his second one, again, was...
True.
His second one was basically as part... The second one could never have happened if the first one had not happened.
Indeed. Maybe he just didn't think it through when he started his empire within shooting distance from the royal sisters. Maybe he didn't think this through.
It's a possibility. All right. Anything else, guys? Because I think we've just about we've not only hit our top mark, but I think I've hit about all I want to say about Queen Chrysalis.
I really can't think of anything else that we could really go off on her about. I pretty much think we've said all we can about Queen Cheese Legs.
Well, yes, Queen Cheese Legs, of course.
Queen.
We forgot that, actually. We didn't say cheese. No, we did.
You did in the beginning.
Yeah, right at the beginning. It was a joke. It doesn't matter.
I'll let the audience chime in a little bit if they have something.
A good question is where changelings came from.
Oh, that's a good question.
Nothing's really given us anything in the...
And
nothing's given us anything.
Yes,
where
nothing's given us anything about where they came from. They could be transformed ponies. They could be their own race. They could be invaders from outer space, for all we know.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
I can just imagine coming in on their flying saucers, just woo, woo, woo,
Flying cheese wheels.
Yes.
Someone draw that, please. I
We
might.
have come
Great.
for your love. Take us to your leaders.
Now you just got me thinking of Ass Stuff, where they got the flying saucer in the city, and the guy's like, "Throw the cheese!"
And now imagining a huge cheese wheel floating above Canterlot like Independence Day.
Yes, someone please draw that. That would be the best thing ever.
All right. No one's chiming in from the audience. So I think...
They're all
we will-
changelings.
They're all changelings, remember? So why don't we go ahead and wrap this up? Matt the Shadow Man.
Yes, she would.
All right. Why don't we wrap this up then? Now, I already kind of said what we were doing next week when Tox called, but I'll say it again. Next week, we're going to redo the Season 2 finale. And as I said, there's going to be no content. The exception might be there are two things I can think of. And one of them I'll give away in the sense of I'll give that one away. Since it's a what if, the only possible ones that I would give away is something like Season 5 premiere date is set in stone. If that happens, then yes, I will announce that. But short of that, I'm not going to share any content. We're going to start it up, watch the episode, critique it, and review it just as we did last week, and that way we can have it set in stone. So stop on by if the season 2 finale, if you missed it the first time, or just want to redo it a second time. On behalf of myself, my co-host, Mr. Ben in Twilight is Magic.
Hey, let's keep on babbling. See you next week, y'all.
Be off, that's right.
We want to thank y'all for stopping on by. And until then, farewell.
Take care.
And don't forget to pick up your complimentary bottle of good water on your way out.
Elliot tested. Cinema Equestria approved. Yay.